to do that, why we will go to take this botheration to accept a guru and accept his instructions, right? So what is the need to go to a guru and accept and become a disciple? Or in other words, what is the need to become disciplined? Today we'll see that. And how discipline relates to freedom. So there are many misconceptions. First, we'll try to understand that. People think that spiritual life restricts our freedom. We have this wrong conception in our mind that discipline restricts our freedom. If you voluntarily accept to get discipline, then you are restricting your freedom. Many of your friends must be discouraging you to come here when they must be observing that you are regularly coming here. They get really tensed. Why you are bothering yourself so much? And don't just be free. Just enjoy life. Right? So how to understand this fact that how is discipline really equates to happiness and freedom? How to understand this fact? Because we immediately don't feel like that, because it's a tough process to get disciplined, right? It's a tough process. Like army disciplines its cadets, like NCC. You have seen NCC must be there inside. You have to wake up early in the morning, you have to go and parade. And so it gives a hint that discipline is, it's more easier to equate discipline with suffering and mental and torture. It's more easier. But to equate discipline with freedom and happiness, it's a little tough because it doesn't appear to be so. Doesn't appear to be. So there are some misconceptions of spiritual life. People think that to be spiritual means to be free to do whatever you want and feel spiritual. And we have to feel spiritual. But is it possible that if you do whatever you want, can you be spiritual? Is it possible? You cannot be a human being also if you just start doing whatever you want. What to say of being spiritual? So most of the people, they consider spirituality as freedom, and freedom in the sense of unrestricted sensual indulgence. They consider how we define freedom with unrestricted sensual indulgence is freedom. That's how we understand freedom. That there should be no restriction in VIT. Everybody should be allowed to do whatever they want, right? There should be no restrictions. Then what will happen? It will be chaos. Then there will be chaos. Because there is a discipline, so there is a management. The purpose is being fulfilled. The purpose of VIT is being fulfilled because VIT has a discipline. So to achieve a purpose in life, one has to discipline his life. Right? Otherwise, if all the horses in a cart, if there are 5 horses in a cart, and if all the 5 horses, they don't follow the instruction of the chariot driver, then what will happen? The chariot will not be able to move, and then no purpose will be fulfilled. Right? Similarly, if you have operated a gas stove, have you operated a gas stove? Sometimes you would have cooked something. So if you directly put fire in the cylinder and try to cook, what will happen? Sir, I want to cook very immediately. I have to rush. So I'll just put fire in the cylinder and put stove. Because you have to rush. So you will need a lot of heat because you want to cook immediately. But will it cook immediately? It will burn. And it will burn you. It will burn the whole place. And nothing useful can happen. But if you regulate it through a regulator, there is a regulator. Have you seen? There is a regulator. So if you regulate it, then what will happen? Some purposeful things can be achieved. So regulation or restriction is required to achieve a purposeful end. Is it clear? Does that make sense? Right. If we have a tank of 6,000 liters on top on the terrace. So if I don't put a valve and I just connect the pipe to the tap, what will happen? Will I be able to achieve anything? Will I be able to wash my utensils, take bath? No, nothing can be achieved because there is no control. So it's just like uncontrolled. It may have a lot of energy, but if that energy is not disciplined or controlled, it's coming in. If that energy is not disciplined, if that energy is not disciplined, so if the energy is not disciplined or controlled, then what will happen? It will create devastation. There cannot be any creative end. Nothing creative can be achieved. Only destructive things will happen. Right? Similarly, the same principle functions in our life. We have a lot of energy, especially in youth. We are filled with energy, it's just bubbling out. What to do, we don't know. So it's because there is no proper direction, there is nobody to discipline it, and all the elements in the society are trying to distract and corrupt us. Right? There are multinational companies, social media. All these are what? These are multinational companies, and their agenda is to make profit. And they're making profit by exploiting mass. And the best crowd is youth. So there is no one to discipline us. There is no one to guide us. There is no one to restrict and control our energy and direct it to the proper direction. It's all left on our own. But how we will do? We don't have any wisdom. We may have many knowledge. We may have gathered many informations, but we don't have wisdom. We don't have the experience of life. We haven't seen life. Anybody has any prior experience of this life? No, sir, I have experienced life, how to live life. I have so much experience. I know what to do. Right? You don't have any prior experience of life. So this is the first life. There are many lives, but we remember this as the first life. We don't remember our past lives. So we don't have any wisdom. The actual translation of Gyan in Sanskrit is not knowledge, it's wisdom. Knowledge is just some dry information. Even the computer has so much knowledge. But the computer doesn't have wisdom. Whatever you want to do, you'll do. If you want to create a blast in Bombay, it will tell you how to do. No, you can simulate a city like Bombay and plan nicely how to make a blast in Bombay. It doesn't have wisdom. Right? It just has knowledge. It just has dry knowledge. That is the problem. 80% of the world's scientists are engaged in making war weapons. They have so much knowledge, but engaged for destructive purposes because the energy is not properly regulated. It's not properly controlled. So it is being used for destructive purposes. So as far as spiritual life is concerned, now there is a new spirituality being promoted in the modern society where people equate spirituality into freedom. That is okay. Till the time people equate spirituality into freedom. Yes, spirituality gives you freedom. But what is that freedom? That they don't have any idea because they don't go into the deeper meaning of the word spirituality. They just want to be free, and some bogus person equates it to freedom, and they feel happy. Oh, I'll be free. Yes. So what to do? So there are groups in America. They practice some sort of spirituality. So they become naked. They go to the forest, all the girls and boys, and they'll stay there for one night close to the nature. We want to be close to the nature. So we all will become naked, and there will be free sex, free enjoyment. You can have as much drugs you want. You can have as much wine you want, and you will feel spiritual. We all will feel spiritual by enjoying unrestricted sensual indulgence. So that is not spirituality because they are not interested in endeavoring to stop the pushing of the senses. So the first purpose of spirituality, the first preliminary step of by definition, spirituality means yoga indriya sanyamya. It's a process to discipline the senses. What is the need? We'll discuss. Why there is a need to discipline the senses. We'll discuss on that. But most of the spiritual processes which are there in the modern society, they don't encourage their followers to follow any sort of discipline. You do whatever you want, and you come to that particular Baba, he will give you blessing and you can go on doing whatever you want. No need of any do's and don'ts. And he'll keep on giving blessings. So this is the situation. So what are the ill effects of material desires? What are the ill effects of material desires? So as per Bhagavad Gita, this material desire is called as kama. What it's called? Kama. Lust. Lust is the opposite of love. So lust, what is the difference between love and lust? Love is selfless and lust is self-centered. So as per Bhagavad Gita, the root cause of all evils is, what is that? What is the root cause of all evils? It's lust. Lust is considered the root cause of all evils. This self-centered indulgence, it's sense enjoyment, is called as lust. Why it is the root cause of all evils? This tendency to enjoy material things, to enjoy this matter, it is considered as an impurity in our consciousness. To enjoy this material things is considered as impurity. It's an impure thing. This is not we are supposed to do. Why? Because the moment you try to indulge yourself in enjoying matter, that may be by seeing good things, by enjoying your senses. What are the senses you enjoy with? By the eyes, by the nose, by the tongue, ear, genitals, and by skin. So these are called sensual senses. And the senses, they keep pulling us in different directions. The eyes pulls us to see different things. The tongue pulls us to taste different things. Even though you may have eaten sufficiently in your house, but the moment you go out, no, the tongue says, okay, little more, right? So it keeps pulling. So the moment you try to satisfy that lust, to enjoy, I want to enjoy. This everything is meant for my enjoyment. We have assumed it, that what is the purpose of creation? To enjoy this creation. How did you come to this conclusion? Because my father is doing that, my uncle is doing that, my grandfather is doing that, everybody is doing that. So I feel that I should also do that, right? Because whomever we see, the teacher, the father, the parents, the society, everybody is just engaged in sense enjoyment. Let us enjoy our senses and exploit these resources. These are wonderful resources we have got. Why not to just enjoy it? Let's exploit and enjoy. This is the purpose of life. What is the proof? What is the proof that exploiting these material resources will give you enjoyment? How did you conclude? Because it's just in trend. That is the trend. So we are just following the trend. So like the way we ask proof of God, did we ask the proof of what you believe is correct? Did you ask the proof for that? We believe that materialism is the only way to happiness. Did we try to ask proof for that? No. The spirituality is the proof, is the only way to happiness. If I say spirituality is the only and only way to happiness, you will ask, what is the proof, sir? Right. By serving Krishna only you can be happy. You'll ask, what is the proof? But did you ask any proof when the society, when you came to know that materialism, by exploiting matter, you will be happy? What is the proof? We are seeing so many people are frustrated. And everybody is frustrated. Who is happy? Everybody is struggling hard. There is hard struggle for existence. And Charles Darwin gave this theory: struggle for existence. If you struggle, you'll exist. If you don't struggle, you'll extend. And there is a struggle. Who is happy? So why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe what you believe? So the gross evidence is this advertisement industry. So we see people unthinkably run for things which they do not require whatsoever. If there is an advertisement, they don't consider whether it is necessary for me or not. They just run. That means there is something which pulls us, this material desires, and pulls us to do something which is not necessary. At the moment you do that, you feel frustrated than before. The more you feel more frustrated than before, the more you try to enjoy. And the proof is, you can see all the developed Western developed countries. That is the proof. US and all the European countries frustrated. Life is completely frustrated. So they are trying to enjoy and exploit all the material resources, trying to satisfy their senses. But it is so frustrating that there are so many social, economic chaos in the society. So what happens when you try to enjoy this material resources, being impelled by your sensual pullings, the senses they pull, even though you know that it's not required for me, but even then the senses they pull. And two things will happen. Last time we discussed. If you satisfy them, will they get satisfied? No. What will happen? More. If a child is there and he asks his father, please give me some chocolates. So the father will give, okay, my dear son, take. The child will take the chocolates. Then he'll be satisfied? No. Then what he'll do? Ask more, give me more. And again, give me more. And that is called greed. So if the lust is satisfied, it turns into greed. If the lust is not satisfied, if the tendency to enjoy is not satisfied, then what happens? Anger, frustration. Right? I wanted something, I didn't get. Either it will turn into envy or it will turn into anger. If you didn't get, then you are angry. If somebody else gets, then you are envious. You see how is the root cause of all events? You are able to connect all the greed, anger, enviousness, conceit, arrogance. Everything comes from this one thing that is called lust. What is this lust? We'll try to study more. It is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita in the 3rd chapter. So this tendency to enjoy, who is enjoying? So when the senses they pull, all the sensual pullings, the center of this sensual pullings is the mind. Ultimately, everything goes in the mind. Whatever things you try to perceive with the senses goes in the mind, and the mind enjoys, right? The mind enjoys. So there's the uncontrolled mind who's trying to enjoy more and more, more and more, more and more. But the problem is, the more you try to enjoy these material things, you can clearly observe that you don't get any satisfaction. Right? If today I give you an iPhone, will you be the most happy person? The latest iPhone, the most beautiful girlfriend. Now, Donald Trump was asked in a TV interview, that if I give you everything what you want, everything, whatever is most desirous on this planet, but I'll not give you one thing. Now you cannot have sex for another 10 years. He said, no, it's not possible. Right? So everything is centered around this one. Among all the senses, the most heavy, the most desirous enjoyment is sex. And everything is centered just to decorate it more nicely. Just to decorate it nicely. So this is the pulling of the senses. It agitates, it pulls, and you are helpless, and you go and surrender. That's why it's called, there is a Goswami. Goswami means the master. Goswami. Go means senses, and Swami means master. One who has controlled his senses is called Goswami. And the opposite of Goswami is Godas. One who is surrendered to his senses is called Godas. So even the big stalwarts, they all get victim to the moves of a beautiful woman, right? So it's very alluring. The sensual agitations, when one becomes helpless, it creates helplessness, right? We may be addicted to many things, right? We all have some of the other things we all are attached to, addicted to. So even though you may realize that it's harming me, it's harming my life, it's creating distraction for me, but can you avoid it? No. That means your mind is uncontrolled, your senses are uncontrolled. And it is harming you. You can realize that these desires, these material desires, are creating, they are creating trouble for me. I'm being troubled by them. Right? That's why people move for meditation. They go for some meditation. They go to some temple. Why? Because they are completely distressed by this whole agitation of the senses. So since we all feel helplessness, so the need to discipline is there, because we all are feeling helplessness by the uncontrolled desires of the mind, uncontrolled pushings of the senses. Who is not feeling the pushing of the senses, and who is not feeling helplessness? Do we not have any desire which is not creating helplessness for us, and we want to avoid it? We all are being entangled. So what happens? This material desires, this entangles us. It gives you a slight sensation of happiness. It gives you some slight sensation of happiness, and you get entangled in that. But you don't get any satisfaction, because it is not something related to the soul, the living entity. Because the living entity is a part and parcel of God. He cannot get satisfaction by interacting with anything matter. This is a dull matter. This concrete, this mud, this stone cannot give me happiness. Even though you may live in a big palace, but what it is just a stone. Can the stone give you happiness? Even decorated in a nice way? Is there a happiness in this stone? Is there happiness in this table? Is there happiness in this laptop? Where is happiness? Happiness is not there in this dull matter. This is dead. This is what spirituality teaches us. Try to understand that you cannot get happiness by just interacting with this dead matter, because the dead matter doesn't have any feelings and emotions. And you are an emotional, sentient being. The more you try to indulge and surround yourself with all these dead objects, the more you'll be distressed and frustrated. People were indulged in sensual happiness before the modern technological revolution also. But their indulgence in sensual happiness was more harmonic, in the sense that was still better. Why? Because they were surrounded with living things: the cows, the crops, the trees, the forests, the agricultural fields. Right? These are all living things. Right? So it gives you happiness when you see the crop growing. When you put your hand on the cow, it gives you some sort of interaction. The cows interact with you. The fields, the crops, they interact with you. You feel happy. But with this technological revolution, what has happened is they have surrounded themselves with all this dead material technology. Which doesn't have any emotions, it doesn't have any feelings. So people are even more frustrated than how much they were supposed to. They have increased their disease. So why it is happening? Because it's being advertised. And what is this advertisement? They're just trying to trigger the uncontrolled senses, because they understood that these people, they are helpless for their material desires. And the more you give them material desires, they will slaver like a dog, picking out their tongue, and they'll run. And these MNCs, these companies, they take advantage. They show something, and we run. Like a dog, like the dog slavers his tongue, we slaver and licks. This is the situation. And they take advantage because they have identified this is the weakness. They are helpless for their material desires. Let us exploit it. They are helpless. So that's why the Vedic teaching says, why don't you control your pushings of the senses? Right? The Vedic teaching says, why don't you control the pushings of the senses? In that way, you will be more free. Will you be more free by if you have uncontrolled mind and uncontrolled senses, looks like that. That let us break the wall in the tank. The tank is free. The water is free to move, but it is useless, right? Let us not put regulator in the gas. Make it free. It will burn the whole building. So everybody wants freedom. Women wants to become equal to men. They have women rights, feminism. We want freedom, and there's chaos everywhere. Right? This freedom movement has bringing chaos. This is not what is Vedic civilization. Vedic civilization promotes controlled freedom. Everybody has got freedom as per their eligibility. How much they're eligible to get freedom. The child has got a certain eligibility. The woman has got certain eligibility. The more you are free, the more you are prone to get exploited. Is it right? The more we are free, the more you are prone to get exploited. If you send a woman out of this building, if our own sister, if she goes for a tuition, and she was supposed to come by 7, and now it's 7:30, will you not be tensed? Right? The father will be tense because she's a girl. She cannot be as free as her brother because that will make her prone to get exploited. So the more you are free, now the students are free, the children are free, there are no guardians over them. They are free, right? They are free to do anything. Well, what has happened? What are the consequences? You're not able to see. You're able to experience, right? The consequences. If the guardians would have been there, if they would have protected from being vulnerable to these MNCs, the social media and all these things, if the government would have taken charge, if the guardians would have taken charge, and they would have acted as per their proper role, then is it not that today's situation would have been much better than what it is now? It would have been much better. But the problem is, because of this freedom movement, we have made ourselves more vulnerable to exploitation. And the companies, they're taking advantage. The demoniac people, they're taking. So therefore, it is considered as an impurity because it makes us more greedy and all kinds of wrong habits. It intricates in our mind, in our senses. You start with enjoyment, then you become greedy, then you become envious, then you become angry, then you become arrogant. All these things follow. So you get intricated in all these things. So this is considered as an impurity. So what is the solution? We'll discuss more on this. So it seems to be natural. Sir, why you want to stop us from enjoying this sensual happiness? Why not we just do it in a proper way? Maybe we are not doing it in a proper way. Let us do it in a proper way. Even though you do it in a proper way. No, it is not natural for us. Since it is unnatural for us, you'll always feel frustrated. Why it is unnatural for us? Because our constitutional position is that we are spirit in nature. Our nature is not material. Our nature is spiritual. The more you interact with material things, it will create frustration and emptiness in your heart. The more you interact with spiritual things, you'll get fulfillment in your life. That is a fact. That's why there are more theists from the ages. There are more theists than atheists. Even though the whole world, the modern society is trying its best to promote atheism. No religious education is allowed in any of the colleges. By any way, you cannot go and give any education. They are trying their best to remove God from the picture. They're trying their best to remove spirituality, right? Is it possible that this lecture can happen inside VIP? No. If you try to do so, you'll be thrown out, right? They don't want that. They are taking their best concern that even though the students may watch porn and they may bring wine and they may smoke drugs, they don't have any problem with that. That's okay. But there should not be any discussion on spirituality or God. That is their special attention. So best possible attempts are being made. But what is the solution? What is the what are the consequences? It is unnatural for us. We are becoming more prone to frustration. So I just said the proof is this modern civilization epitomized by the developed nations. So the whole nation of frustrated and stressed out people with no trust, no love. Right? In America, there is no question of family life. There is no family life. There are 12 different kinds of families. In India, how many kinds of families are there? Family means family. What do you mean by what? How many kinds of family? Right? Is this question relevant? How many kinds of families are there? Family is a family. In America, there are 14 different kinds of families, and it increases. So what are those different kinds of families? Family where there is only a mother and there is no father. Family where there is father but no mother. Family where the father has divorced 2 times and the mother is new. Family where the father has divorced 3 times and like that. There are different kinds of families. And there's no family life. There is no such caring of children. They're a burden. Children are like a burden. You see, this material desires where it ends. Now people, they don't want to produce children, right? Why? Because they want to enjoy sex. They don't want to produce children. If children is there, there is a moderation. You cannot enjoy with your wife. Why do you want children? And again, to enjoy unlimited sex, they want contraceptives, abortions, kill the child in the womb. You see how this material desires, they degrade, and they forces us to commit sinful activities because it is unnatural for us. The more you try to indulge in these sensual activities, it becomes more and more frustrating, and you try to do in a different way. You again frustrate, you try to do different way, and you frustrate, and then you move to sinful attempts. You try to do it in a sinful way because there's no happiness there. There's no happiness because it is unnatural for us. We are not meant to enjoy material things. We are, if you take this this cable, right? The cable has got a purpose. If I use this cable to brush my teeth, will I be happy? No, it will not serve the purpose. It is not meant for that purpose. It will get frustration and people will call me mad. Even if they don't call me mad, I'll myself become mad after a few days if I do the same thing again and again. Right or not? We are trying to do the same thing. We are spirit souls trying to engage with this dead matter. This iron and this stone and this different kinds of dull objects. We are trying to surround ourselves with all these dull, dead objects. And you want to interact with them. How beautiful you are. This iPhone. The moment I see you, I fell in love with you. Do you see the iPhone? Do you feel like that? In the beginning, you may feel like that. But after a few days, you will like to throw it away. Right? You don't feel like it. It will be lying in some part of your room, some corner of your room. So the more materialistic one becomes, the more self-centered, the more frustrated, the more anxiety. And that is a proof that the world record of psychiatric cases is being broken daily. The number of psychiatric cases are rising every day. The number of suicides, depression. It never happened in the history that so many people are committing suicides. So many people are being depressed. Why? Because of this increasing materialistic advancement. We'll just try to see this video. Can you connect this audio jack from this to this? Yeah, just see that black bag. There will be an audio jack. Akshay, you see? I'll show you a video. It's an animation. You'll like it. It will give you a summary of what we discussed now. Aux cable, there will be.
This big. Just volume थोड़ा कम इसके लिए मतलब it will burst with you. Volume just full zero. Now put it.
Sorry. All this advert. So you see, is it? It's not connected. The mic. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is it relevant? You are able to connect with it? Yeah. So he tried to enjoy different things. No, he got his car, but then he got stuck in the traffic. Finally, he got frustrated. Then he took to some wine, then drugs. So he became very happy. Went to the sky, flying, flying, flying. But after some time, the hallucination, because the drugs and wine they give you some hallucination. But after some time, it will finish, and then when you drop, it will give you'll become even more frustrated than what you were, and then you will take more drugs. Then you will take two more intoxicant than what you were taking before. So this is how things work. So material life, material desires, this is slight sensation of happiness, some slight tickling of senses in the mind. You feel that it has a lot more inside, and then you run behind it. But then you end up in frustration because that is not natural for us. And then you start. Then there is frustration, there is envy, there is arrogance, there is greed, and then finally, when you're completely disgusted with all these things, then you take to intoxicants. Because what is the other hope? And finally, there is some drugs. Why people take to drugs? Because they're not happy the way they are. They want some hallucination of some happiness. What? What it's not? Slides are not coming?
Take the video. You have to share it.
Okay. How to share it this now? It cannot be full screen. This one, the shots. It cannot be full screen. So this is some graphical explanation of what we discussed. So freedom to do freedom. Now I try to study freedom. We will now be discussed on discipline. What is the need to discipline? Because these material desires, they have degrading tendencies. The nature of material desires is that it degrades and degrades and degrades and takes us to very simple lifestyles. Then what is freedom? So freedom has to be there, but it should not be. There are two kinds of freedom. There's animalistic freedom and real freedom. If freedom is not properly guided, then it will turn into animalistic. This selfish and collective enjoyment that only I should be happy. Like we saw the earth, why we are exploiting the earth and why there are so many issues and pollutions and so many things happening with nature, because we have become more and more selfish. How we have become more selfish? Are we selfish? No. Whosoever is doing, whether it may be now the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, now he is being put in CBI custody. He has done some scam. Have you seen? So, is he selfish? But he must be doing for his family, so that my son can study in abroad. He doesn't love his son. He loves his son. He loves his son. He loves his wife, and he's going to share that money with them. Is it? Then how is selfish? He's not going to share his money with them. Krishna, what do you think? He's selfish? Huh? This is called collective selfishness. There is some self-centered selfishness, and there is one collective selfishness. That I care for myself and for my near and dear ones. I don't bother if somebody dies, if the next person dies in front of me, or if I harm the whole nature, if I destroy the whole earth, my family should be happy. My son should study abroad. Even if I have to destroy the whole planet for the sake of my family, I'll do that. This is called selfishness. So, if we are not properly disciplined and if we are given freedom, then what will happen? We will degrade. And for our selfish sensual enjoyment, we will commit any sinful activity, even at the cost of inflicting pain on others. And that's been happening. The best of the intellectuals in the country, they are caught in scams. All the IAS officers, all the political parties, they're involved in scams. Are they not sufficiently educated? Are they not sufficiently educated? They are. Is it not that they don't have education to do to understand things? They have full education and they become more corrupt. Because the more you educate yourself for sensual enjoyment, to exploit material things, you become more sinful, you become more corrupt. You degrade even more. Because there is no end to lust. Lust is compared to fire. Can fire be satisfied? How fire gets satisfied? By putting oil. If you give oil to the fire, fire will be very happy. Oh, good. The food of fire is oil, petrol. So will the fire be ever satisfied if you go on putting petrol? If you go on putting fuel? No. Lust is compared to fire. Lust is compared to fire. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said. So there's no limit to selfishness. One can become greedy to unlimited extent. One can become Ravana, right? The hero of all the greedy people. You can plan to kidnap Sita also. One can become greedy to that extent. Right? There is no end to one's greediness. So if you don't limit your freedom, if you don't restrict your freedom, we may end up in becoming animals. So there is now, yesterday I saw a video, there is called a pig spa. There are many spas, people go to relax themselves. So now there is a pig spa. People behave like pigs. They go there and they behave like pigs. They'll roll in the mud. They will do all kind. They try to imitate pig, and they are saying that they feel more relaxed than before. They are feeling very good. The productivity increases. So, like you see, people how they are degrading to such low levels. One could not even imagine. People are degrading, and there are so many things happening. If you go on the internet, so many things happening. People are doing some things which this society could not have imagined in the past. It is said that an average person in today's modern society watches as many naked women than even the emperor would not have watched even 100 years back. Like the emperors would not have seen as many naked women as a normal average person sees in his lifetime. This is the situation. Why this is happening? Because the more you are indulging in materialism, the more you are becoming lusty, the more you are becoming greedy, the more you are becoming sinful tendencies are developing. Because you are frustrated, you need some satisfaction, and there is no satisfaction. So you are moving towards this kind of illicit activities. Like the mouse, you see, We move towards drugs, wine, prostitution. Why? Because we need satisfaction. We are not getting satisfaction. So even though the level of intelligence may be superficially very high, but we are copying the same animalistic tendency, and to some extent even more than that. Because the animals, they don't kill their children in the womb. The human beings they kill, and they take it as their advancement. That we have the best of the technologies. You'll not feel any pain. You just come to our abortion center. They're being advertised. Do the animals they do that? They take responsibility. They take responsibility. They feed their kids. They grow up their kids. But the humans they kill their kids. And how many abortions are happening every year? Lakhs and lakhs, millions of abortions are. Millions of children are being killed in the womb. You see how this materialism is being degraded. So freedom. So this freedom, what is real freedom? Real freedom means athato brahma jigyasa. That since now we have got this human form of life and a civilized human form of life, there are many human forms which are not civilized, who are there in the jungles and some aborigines, but we are civilized human beings. We are not aborigines or in the deserts or in the forest. We are civilized human beings. So we have got two advantages. And much more advantageous than since we are born in India. It's a dharmic country. So we are born in this human form of life, that too in a civilized country, India, in a dharmic place. So what should we do? Athato, now we should take advantage. How we should take advantage? Where should we utilize our freedom? We have got some freedom? Yes, we have got some freedom. So where I should use my freedom? Brahma Jigyasa. We should inquire about the nature of that eternal truth, the nature of eternal reality. What is that reality? This is not reality, what we are experiencing. It's a temporary business. What we are experiencing is just a temporary thing. So what is the nature of reality? One should try to study that. And one should try to go beyond these gross and subtle sensual perceptions. Like now it's a holiday for 2 days. What people will do inside hostels? Either they'll watch some movie, licit or illicit, or they'll sleep. Either they enjoy some gross sensual happiness or some subtle sensual happiness. But one has to go beyond that because the animal is even doing the same thing. Why being born in a civilized human form of life? Why you want to imitate the animal? Why you are competing with the animal? Why don't we want to raise our consciousness, uplift our consciousness, and think something beyond this materialistic happiness? Why not to inquire something beyond this materialistic happiness? That's what Vedic injunction is. Ahara nidra bhaya maithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhim narana. Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho. Dharme nahina pashubhir samana. That the 4 things which are similar even to animals and human beings. What are those 4 things? Ahar, eating, nidra, sleeping, mating, and defending, fighting with each other. You may do it in a superficially more intellectual way. You may do it with missiles or nuclear bombs, with AK-47 and this gun and that gun. And the animals may do it the same thing by their nails and then by teeth. But the tendency is the same. We are envious, we are greedy, we are arrogant, and that's why we want to fight with each other. The tendency is the same. What is the speciality of this human form of life? Dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho. That is the tendency to inquire. The prerogative which we have got in this human form of life, which no other species have got, is that we can inquire into the nature of the eternal reality. Happiness, less than a second, or maximum to 1 second or 2 seconds. Right? This is the only happiness which we are getting. But do you want such kind of flimsy sensations? No, we all want permanent happiness. We all want to enjoy permanently. Then why don't you try for that? The Vedas are instructing for that. There is information. Parastasmat tu bhavanyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu na vinashyati. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, the information is given that there is an eternal reality beyond this temporary material world where there is death. There is an eternal world where there is no death. And we have our existence in that world. Paras tasmat tu bhavan. Beyond this temporary material existence, Gita says, Bhagavad Gita says, there is an eternal spiritual world. The information is given. And the ways are given. How one can approach that eternal world. There is a particular way you can do that. And what is the significance of that word? Yasa sarveshu bhusdeshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. When this everything will be destroyed, that eternal world will remain as it is. That will never get destroyed. Natat bhasate suryo na shashanko na pavaka. There is no sun, there is no light, there is no sun, there is no fire, there is no electricity. That eternal abode of God is self-illuminating. Like the sun is self-illuminating, is there any need of any artificial light on sun? Similarly, the abode of God is self-illuminating. There is no need of sun and moon. The need of sun and moon is there in this Brahmanda because it is in the form of an egg. So inside the egg, it is dark. That's why a bulb is given, sun, and the moon is given, so that we can have some light. But that is not that is an eternal spiritual reality. And once you approach to that abode, once we cross over this proclivity to enjoy gross material desires, if we can cross over by training ourselves, by educating ourselves, and that's where the discipline comes, because there is a need to overcome our sensual indulgence, and we are feeling the need more so ever than in the past, right? We are feeling the need now. There's much more need than how much it was there in the past. There's much more crisis now. So there is a need to control our sensual indulgence because we are seeing the consequences. The consequences are very hard to accept. So the eternal reality is Krishna. And to reach there, to the eternal reality, one has to get purified. And what is that impurity from which we have to get purified? Chandrasai, what is that impurity from which we are supposed to get purified? Lust. From that time we are discussing the same thing. Lust. That is impurity. Why it is impurity? Because it is unnatural for us. We are by nature, we are spirit, and we are trying to enjoy matter. We are trying to enjoy separate from Krishna. How many of you want Krishna in your life? All of you? What is the need of this class then? You all are ready for that. I thought you are not, you don't want, that's why I was telling you this thing. So the tendency is that we don't want Krishna. We want our selfish desires. We want to enjoy separate from Krishna. We don't want Krishna in our life. We want to have my son, my family, my country, my society. No Krishna. That's why how much time you give for Krishna in your whole day? Studying about Krishna, chanting his name, or thinking about him, something related to him. How much? How many people, how much time? Every day? No. So it is just on the lips. I want Krishna in my life, but I don't have time. I'm very busy. You see, this is the situation. So actually our tendency is that from time immemorial, we have developed a proclivity to enjoy these material objects, the resources of Krishna, separate from Krishna. Like for example, I'll give you an example to understand this. If you want to go to a night dance party, there is some farewell, and there's a night dance party. All the girls and boys are coming, and when you'll reach in 4th year. So you ask your parent, shall I go in that there is a farewell party? Shall I go in that? What is going to happen? Nothing. They will just shake hands and come and we'll have some selfies. Nothing else. We feel like that. But you know, you're going to enjoy there. So the father also knows. So he'll ask, so I'll also come with you. We and your mother both are coming, we'll go together. Will you feel happy? You will not feel happy. Why? Because there is some selfish enjoyment, there is lust, some selfish desire. This is called lust. The tendency to enjoy separate. Let me enjoy separately. Why? Because there is some sinful element in that. There is a selfish enjoyment in that. So if my parents come, how I'll enjoy with my girlfriends? I'll have some girlfriends there. Some women will be there, some men will be there, they'll dance together, and there is some enjoyment. So I don't want my parents there, right? Otherwise, how will we enjoy? So similarly, we wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna. So Krishna has made this world where you don't feel Krishna. It is made by Krishna, but in such a way that you don't feel that there is Krishna because you wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna. So Krishna has put himself in the backstage. You cannot see him. Everything is done by him, but you don't see him. You feel like how the rains come. Can you tell? Tell me how the rains come. The water evaporates from the ocean and it forms clouds, and the clouds then it becomes heavy. You see, there's no need of God. How water comes? What is water? H2 plus 2O2 is water. Is there any need of God? No. So we have this world. When you analyze this world, you feel that there is no Krishna, there is no need of God. Everything can be explained in terms of just phenomena. And we don't want to bring Krishna in the picture. This tendency is called lust. Everything is being provided by God. If you start calculating how many grains of rice God has given, if you start calculating how many grains of rice God has given, how many millions of tons of rice God has given, can you calculate it? No. But we are not grateful. We are ungrateful. This is called lust. So the platform of pure Krishna consciousness can be attained by getting free from material desires. We have to come out from our proclivity. What is happening? So we have to cross our proclivity from time immemorial. We have developed this proclivity to enjoy these material senses. Now, till the time we don't overcome this proclivity to unnaturally, it is an unnatural thing, unconstitutionally trying to enjoy separate from God without taking God into account. Like the Vedic culture is everything you bring Krishna into account. For example, you purchase a car. Where do you take it for the first time? To the temple. You want to, you like a woman. How you will connect to her? You will marry. You'll come in front of God. You'll take a promise that I'll take care of her and we'll never leave each other, like that, something. So everything, God was the center. But now as materialism is progressing, God is removed from the picture and everything is just self-centered and people are more happy than ever, right? So this is happening because we are being impelled our senses and that uncontrolled mind. It is compared to the horses, uncontrolled horses. If you don't control the horses, you will not reach to your destination. It's like an uncontrolled horse. So you have to bridle this horse of uncontrolled mind. And that can be bridled by this spiritual education. You have to follow certain discipline, the do's and don'ts of spiritual life. So then gradually the tendency to enjoy separate from God and not to bring God in picture, this rebellious tendency will be curbed down and we will feel spiritual life, spirituality in our life. So most of it I have discussed. So what are those do's and don'ts we have to follow in our life? There are 4 things. It is called A, B, C, D, E. Will you be able to remember? A, B, C, D, E. Yesterday we discussed those who came. A for associating with devotees. You have to associate with spiritual people who have learned how to control the mind, who have learned how to train the mind and the senses, who have faced the challenge to control this unbridled, uncontrolled controlled mind. So they will train you. And who he is? He's called Guru. He's called spiritual master. You know? So a disciple voluntarily agrees to be disciplined by his spiritual master. He feels the need to be disciplined, that I am a victim of lust, greed, anger, avarice, conceit. So I need to be disciplined. So he goes and surrenders to a guru, because the guru only knows how to control senses. The professor knows how to operate a machine in your college, but he doesn't know how to control the mind and the senses and focus it on God. To have one pointed attention towards God, who is the supplier of all the necessities of life, who is the object of our life, right? So we go to Guru, a spiritual master, association, and then B for books. We have to read good books, Bhagavad Gita, and that kind of spiritual books, which will uplift your consciousness. You have to read. So very soon we'll have a library here, and we are making some nice arrangements so that students can come and they can sit and read here, because you may not get good facility there in your hostel. You may not get encouragement to do that. You can come here, you can read for some time, and again you can go back to your college. And whenever you get some gap. And C for chanting. We should chant. Chant God's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. This is called chanting. Chanting of God's name. And D for diet, prasadam. So today we have done all the 4 things, at least, yeah, to some extent. Book reading can be in 2 ways. You can read a book or you can hear also. That is the same thing. So today we have done all the 4 things, right? We have associated with devotees. There are devotees here, right? You associate with them, you speak with them. They'll tell you something, you interact with them. You heard something about Krishna. Yeah, you got educated in something about spirituality. Now we'll chant. Now again we will listen to some kirtan. You will chant Hare Krishna, God's names, and after that there will be prasadam. Right. Simple. Is it difficult? Is there any difficulty? Is it that it requires a lot of time? Today it may take some time, but if you're there in your room, you can just open a book for some time. You can purchase a book from here, and sometimes in a week you can come and interact with devotees, hear from them. It's very simple. If anybody has any doubt regarding the discussion, we can discuss. Any questions? Maybe. So we'll have the third C, chanting. Okay, Hare Krishna. E for engagement. C, chanting. Diet. E for engagement. We should try to do some seva, like cleaning the temple, and some seva, helping the devotees in some arrangement. Like somebody has arranged this mic, this camera, this arrangement somebody has done. So there are students like you. So they help. Helping devotees in some seva of God. This is called engagement. E, Hare Krishna. So all of you, please get up and fold this mattress or carpet, and then we will have kirtan here.